Hello, I'm Simulated Eck and welcome back to Train Sim World. Today we're taking a Caltrain Baby Bullet, the one on the right hand side from San Francisco down to San Jose. So let's get on board because we've got some things to do before we take off in a couple of minutes. Now it may seem like our engine is ready to go. Spoiler alert, it's not. Alright, so we need to set ourselves up in the cab. Now we need to shut the door. Now it sounds like we're all fired up and ready to go, but we're not. Front marker lights on. Gauge lights on. Now we need to put our reverser in, and we need to put our cut-off valve into the passenger position. We need to turn our headlights on, and we should be in a position now to lock our doors. Our doors are locked, and now we'll take our brakes off and we'll wait for the brake cylinders to fully release. And now we can apply some power. Are we moving? We should be moving in a second. Did I put the reverser into forward? No, I didn't. Now I shouldn't be able to move the throttle at all. Here we go. We've got some amperage going on now. Now you shouldn't be able to move the throttle with the reverser in neutral. So we'll just coast through. Very slow speed limit that I've forgotten about in my haste to get out of here. So we're exiting San Francisco now. Our next stop is South San Francisco in 13 kilometers. Now this loco and these carriages are extras, not a part of the standard Peninsula Corridor route. I do, however, like the look of these carriages and this loco more than I do the original. Now this line is undergoing significant change because it's currently in the process of being electrified. So there's massive amounts of work going on at the moment with the stations, with the track, with everything involved with electrification. New trains are being built. So this scene now in early 2021 as it's not even early 2021 anymore. It'll be May by the time you see this. There's a significant amount of work going on to electrify the whole corridor between San Francisco and San Jose. So slow speed to start with. We'll have a look outside. our so-called baby bullet. So just like the other trains that we have featured before on this Caltrain route, the locomotive leads heading away from San Francisco, and at the back we've got the cab car, which is at the other end, and the locomotive pushes the train back to San Francisco. So our speed limit has increased now, so we can indeed boost the power. And it is going to take a little bit of time to get up to speed. Eight notches of power, automatic brakes. I don't like how the bell stays on when you use the horn, but okay, we need to throttle back. Now the speed limit's changed and now I can power up again. Now I've got no real life experience with these locos obviously, but this loco seems more responsive, probably because it's lighter than the other trains on the line, the ones that we featured initially. It's actually quite a pleasant trip down from San Francisco to San Jose. I did it, I think it was the last time I was in America in 2014. And it's even going to be even better on some new electric trains in a few years' time. This part of San Francisco, very industrial. As we move south, we can probably keep the throttle in for the moment. There are also services that stop at all stations. I'm not one of them. It's just at the edge of the afternoon peak hour. Alright, we can go into idle now. Don't really need to speed up anymore, and we do have a speed limit change in about 2 kilometres time. So we'll start to prepare for that shortly. So we'll just put a little bit of brake on. That'll bring our speed down nicely. That's not high speed by any stretch of the imagination. So by the time that we get through this tunnel, by the time we get to the next signal, the speed limit change will have applied to us, and I'm just nicely sitting on 105 kilometers an hour. So I don't have to do any more braking because I've already done it. Alright, so we can increase the speed a little bit while I was spectating. You can also, on this pack on the Peninsula Corridor, there are also freight trains to drive. Episode 21 of Simulated Erg Train Sim World features some freight as well. So we've got 3 kilometres to go before our stop. We've got a slight speed zone reduction shortly, and we'll have to take into account that we need to stop at South San Francisco. So we can just let it roll for the moment. Now, like a lot of the other episodes of Train Sim World, you have to take into account the network, the different types of trains. This one's a diesel loco hauled passenger train with automatic brakes, so we need to treat it a little bit differently in the braking department compared to, say, an electric train. As we start braking now, we've got 1 kilometre to go, but we need to get the we need to start dropping the speed, which is what we're doing, going into South San Francisco. We're going okay. Wouldn't want to be going much faster at this point with 500 metres to go. So I've got the speed down nicely now. I'm just going to roll in. I've probably cut the speed too much, in all honesty, but I'd much rather do that. Alright, so there's our platform. We've got some Union Pacific locos around. Our main platform is on the right hand side. We'll just apply a little bit of brake because we're only going at low speed. Got a little bit of platform to play with. So we'll unlock our doors on our right hand side. We'll let our passengers board. Quite a few passengers actually getting on and off. I think the platform markers actually led me astray because we've still got a carriage off the platform and we've got room. We've got room at the front. Got a little bit more room there that we could have went down further and we would have been sweet. All right, time to lock the doors. Our doors are locked. We can take our brakes off. Wait for the brake cylinder pressure to come to 0. And now we can start to apply some power. Does take a little bit of time for the power to come on. So I think I'm just going to aim for the end of the. I think I'm just going to aim for the end of the platform because those platform markers led me astray. Our next stop is in 6.4 kilometres at Millbrae. So we've got one of the original trains that we have featured before that just passed us heading towards San Francisco. So we're in max power, we're in 8 notch, so not much else we can do at this point. No, there's quite a few diesel locos so far, diesel freight locos I should say, that we've passed so far. Now I don't necessarily expect this, but this would be awesome to see an electrified version of this line as well. I don't see it happening because it'd be a lot of work. It'd be basically like doing a whole new route, even though the base is already there. Would be an interesting DLC. The electrified Peninsula Corridor. Then again, they'd have to get permission to use the electric trains that are being built as well for it. So, and if you can't get that, well, there's no point really in doing the other. Alright, we'll go back. I wasn't paying attention to the change in speed limit. So this flyover will help us. There's a whole lot of work being done on upgrading stations during the electrification process. There's actually quite a few videos that locals have made. So 3 kilometres to go. We'll just go back to idle for the moment. And then in about a kilometre's time we'll start braking. In real life, as I've said before, in real life you'd have powering and shut-off points that you'll use. It's actually been quite some time since I've driven on this simulated line. So I'm going to need to start bringing the brakes on. Just have them on to start with. You know, just don't go straight into full braking, especially with automatic brakes or air brakes. So we're just over half braking now, 55%. We are coming down nicely. Alright, I'm just going to let the brakes off now and I'm just going to let it roll in. There's nothing worse, and I know from personal experience, there's nothing worse than coming into a platform and arriving too fast, and that you know that there's nothing that you can do about it because you've come in too fast. Now I'm going to ignore these suggested markings if I can. We've got a little bit of room to play with. In reality, there's carriage markers and you would know where those carriage markers are, and sometimes even if you do have the carriage marker, you will still have, in some cases, room, and in some cases you know that you'll have to be very precise. Can't quite see down there. I think we may be okay this time. Alright, it's time to lock the doors. Alright, our doors are locked and our next stop is Hillsdale in 10 kilometres time, so we'll take the brakes all the way off. A little bit of time for the air brakes to come off and brake cylinder pressures to come back down to 0. Alright, max power, here we go. 10 kilometres, so it's not a constant stop start, which is good. So I decided to come back and use this route again with the new to me loco and carriages. It's actually been out for quite some time. But I thought, yeah, this would be a nice change. There we go, that's probably a good spot so we don't get any trees. Alright, let's get back in the cab. We're going okay. Sometimes I do alternate and show you what's going on outside, because I know if I was driving a train, sometimes I would want to see what it looks like from the outside. Sometimes it's very tempting when you're first learning a route to go, okay, well, I see a platform, I need to stop at it, but then you need to train yourself. Which stops are the... we can shut off now. Which stops are the stops that you sometimes stop at, and then which ones are the ones that you always stop at? Because sometimes there's smaller stations that you might not stop at unless you're the all stations train. And then there's others that, with the express stops, or the limited express stops, the limited stops, you know, that sometimes they stop there, and then other times they always stop there. You know, in the back of your mind, you still have to think, well, you know, am I stopping here? Am I not stopping here? You know, you might do one run that's all stations, and then the next one might be express. And then the next one might be a limited stops. To me, the audio seems choppy. That's not necessarily because I've got an ear infection in both ears. Maybe it is, I'm not, but maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but it definitely seems choppy to me, the audio, which has been a common complaint that I've had with Train Sim World. Still got 4 kilometres to go. We're at about 100 kilometres an hour at the moment. That's more than reasonable. Just because there is a speed limit doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be doing it. It's a speed limit, not a target. There's a lot of railway construction going on in California in general. There's some new work going on with the LA Metro system, and also with the California high-speed line that's under construction, and also the electrification of this line as well. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on in railway construction in all sorts of different places, California being no exception. And it's really good to see. Because in America, cars king. And I know from personal experience, living where I'm living at the moment in Erk Tower, it is so good, most times, to be so close to everything that I don't need a car. I actually sold my car, so I okay, 1.7 kilometres to go. We better start getting some brakes on. See if we can come into the station a little bit harder, but not hitting it at 90 kilometres an hour, obviously. Alright, that's good. We'll just release the brakes and just let it roll in. And of course as well, there's been a lot of work on the BART system out of San Francisco, with extensions being built down to San Jose at the moment, as it happens. So we're coming in nicely. We need to put some more brakes on. There's the platform. Coming down nicely. And bringing the brakes down, which is nicer for the passengers. I'm going to go a little bit further. Alright. So one thing that you'll notice is that the platforms are very low, and as a result the entries on the doorways are also very low. You can see a good illustration of it there. And what they'll be doing over time is actually raising some platforms and having some platforms built so they're higher. And it makes things easier, people with disabilities, etc. So the new electric trains that are being built will actually have two different heights of doors, and I don't know exactly how that's going to work at the moment. Alright, we'll take our brakes off. So Redwood City is our next stop in just over 8 kilometres. In the next episode, we're going to go across to the east coast of America. We're going to go back to the Long Island Railroad. When I purchased this train, I also purchased a new train for the Long Island Railroad, so I'll be keen to give that a try out as well. Actually, when we get to the next station, I should actually show you what happened to me the last time I was on the Long Island Railroad. Alright, so we're approaching the speed limit, so we'll just idle now. Just under 5 kilometres to go before Redwood City. So we're basically due into Redwood City now. We've still got 2.5 kilometres to go. I don't want to increase my speed too much at this point. We're running fairly well. So we'll start our braking into Redwood City now. 1.5 kilometres to go. Alright, a little bit more. That's almost halfway in the braking range. Speed is coming down nicely. Alright, we'll just release the brakes now. Just some initial brake now because we are coming in at a slower speed. Well, we went a bit over that time, but we do have the length of the length for the locomotive to take into consideration as well. So let's have a look, see how we did. And in actual fact, if you have a look there, we did fine. We did fine in the end there. In a lot of places, that actually might be a good idea to actually have the locomotive off the platform. Speaking of good ideas, here's a good idea for you so you can see what else is happening transport wise with simulated ERC. I'll be back in a moment. Kings and Queens, here we go. So we're at an Atlantic Terminal. I'm assigned the 1228 to West Hempstead, which looks like it is arriving now. Engineering work at Locust Manor means this service is only running as far as Jamaica. Okay, so we have to walk. We have to walk towards the other end of the train. Okay, so we'll get into our cab and we'll close that door. Oh, hello, what are you doing there? Sit in engineer seat. She's already sitting in the engineer seat. Sit in the engineer seat of the train. You are sitting in the engineer seat. Am I sitting on the wrong train? Let's see what happens. No, it's not going to let me sit in the engineer's seat. What is going on? I'm the engineer. What's going on? Hello. It told me to go this way. Now hang on. What? Am I even on the wrong train? I could be on the wrong train. And yes, I still have a job. And on the next episode, we will be returning to the Long Island Railroad. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens there. We need to lock our doors. In reality, that's the conductor's job. Oops, wrong way. Alright, wait for our brakes to release. And we can apply some power. Now it's easy to see in hindsight with that promo. It's easy to see in hindsight the things that I did wrong. It's very easy to see that, but when the pressure's on, when you're only new at something, when the pressure's on, you think you're doing the right thing, but somebody else's cool head, or indeed you looking back on it later on, you could think, oh gee, I didn't do very well at that at all. You know, it was obvious that I was going down the wrong path. It was obvious that I was getting on the wrong train. It should have been obvious, but at the time it wasn't. And yeah, it was a lot of fun actually to make that promo. It took a while, but it was a lot of fun. Our next stop is Menlo Park in just under 5 kilometres. You know, I might only just make the speed limit and then it's time to slow down. But that's just the way it happens sometimes. It's a limit, not a target. So sometimes you don't always make the speed limit. Now, one of the things that I'm interested in going back to Long Island Railroad on the next episode is that there's actually been a lot of improvements that Dovetail Games have been working on since it was initially released. So I'll be keen to see if I actually notice any of those improvements. And going in with a new train, a fresh mind, you know, it's been some time since I've actually been there. And it'll be interesting to see what happens. Alright, we'll just throttle back the engine. 2.5 kilometres to go. This is probably one of our closer stops. Has anyone seen a baby bullet heading in the other direction? I can't remember if I have or not. I'll have to keep an eye on it. Okay, time to start reducing our speed. Coming down nicely. Now, if you were in a modern electric train, you'd be able to start your braking a lot later. They're just set up better for braking and powering. They're a lot more responsive when it comes to doing what you want when you want it to do it, whereas you have to take into account how long it takes, for instance, for the brakes to release, how long it could take for them to apply, how long it could take for power to come on. And overall, that'd be a nice stop. Oh, I can't really see a lot there, can we? Quite a few people getting on and off the train here. Alright, let's lock our doors. Alright, let's turn that bell off, shall we? Oh, 2 kilometres. This is a very short distance between this station and the next one, Palo Alto. So we're not even going to attempt to get to our 127 kilometre an hour speed limit here. There's no real point. So realistically, I'd be happy to get to 60 or 70 kilometres an hour and then shut off and then prepare to. Oh well, there we go. There's a baby bullet in the other direction. All right, so we'll throttle down now. We'll start the brake in a second. That answers that question. Are there any baby bullets heading in the other direction? We did see a couple at San Francisco before we departed. Bridge is actually probably a good marker to start your braking. Alright, we're looking okay, allowing extra room for the loco. So you can see rather nicely there the length of the platform and that we're well and truly on, which is always a good feeling. Alright, time to get in the cab. Wait for the signal from the conductor. California Avenue next. We're all going to town to California Avenue. Time to shut off. Our next stop's in 2 kilometres. Alright, 1 kilometre to go. Now in real life it's not this precise in terms of you know how many metres that you have to go before the station. A lot of it does come down to your route knowledge and using of landmarks and things like that. And usually when you're driving along you're not necessarily talking to yourself like this, but I am trying to provide entertainment, so sort of helps describe what I'm doing. Alright, we'll just release the brakes here, we'll just roll in. That should do us for braking. Our loco will be on. Our carriages will be on, more importantly. And it can be deceptive. Like looking from the cab, you'd actually think that I was more off the platform than what I actually am. Alright. Brakes coming off. Power down. San Antonio next. Not San Antonio, Texas, by the way. .8 kilometers away is San Antonio. when we leave San Antonio, I actually take note of how late I am. Overall, it's been a pretty good run. I am probably being overcautious when it comes to station stops. It's been a while since I've actually driven this type of train on this line, even though this is a new train for me. Shut off here, and we'll start to apply brake now. Coming in nicely. It's probably one of our better stops so far. We're not absolutely crawling in. I can release some of the braking pressure now. Yeah, I thought I was doing okay. It has turned into a slow stop, but I'd much rather do that than come out the other end. Alrighty. So we're about 6-7 minutes late at the moment. And one thing with Train Sim World, it doesn't matter how many passengers you have around or whatever, or you don't have around, you still have to wait until the actual time. Alright, 2.9 kilometres to go now before Mountain View. to start putting some brake on. Coming down nicely. Alright, just gonna roll in. There's old mate. With some platforms you get a fair bit of space where the marker is, and then others you don't. Alright, there we go. Again, that's deceptive because you think you're off the platform and actually not. Sometimes it's a little bit of anticipation too when you're going to get the go signal from the conductor. I noticed that they haven't tried to simulate how you'd actually hear that. Sunnyvale in 4.3 kilometres. Wasn't expecting it to do that. I've driven 36 miles in the MP36PH. One thing that we really haven't had to consider so far are the signals. They've all been clear and pretty much unrestricted from my point of view. And it's been pretty flat. There hasn't been many massive hills or anything that we've had to go up. Little bit more braking required. Lots of braking required. And now we're in full brake application. Coming in nicely. Probably start reducing the brake pressure at this point. And in reality, this is probably my best stop. Alright, 3 kilometres to Lawrence. Some sort of restricted signal up ahead in about 600 metres. And we also have a speed restriction coming up, or a speed reduction I should say, coming up 80 kilometres an hour. We could be switching tracks, I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, we're switching tracks. So I just want to make sure that we are actually idling. So 1.5 kilometres to go before Lawrence. Maybe the platforms on this track are not the track that we're on, so maybe that's why they've had to switch us over. Alright, there's a stop signal coming up in 1 kilometre, which is just after the station. So we need to make sure we get this one right. So in reality, once I stop, I'd contact the conductor and let them know that we're at a signal, and then I'd contact the signaller and find out what's going on. And well, there's our reason. They've let a faster train run through us, so no need for us to really contact the signaller now at this point. Still let the conductor know. This could be a regular thing that happens every day as well. So no use getting excited. I'm going to wait for the signal to clear. Now now we know that we do have a train immediately ahead of us. So that could change the way we drive. We will lock the doors now, because in Train Sim World Land, once you lock the doors, that may change the signal. That's not the correct way of doing it, but that's what's happened on this occasion. Brake cylinders coming off. So we know that we have another train ahead of us now. Santa Clara is our next stop. So not long to go now. Signals have changed, so we've got a little bit more distance to play with. The train being ahead of us. So we know that we've got a train ahead of us now because we just saw it. Now, oftentimes you don't know what train you've got ahead of you, but on that occasion you certainly know because we saw it. Experience will tell you if that's a regular thing or if it's because we're running late and they've put a train around us. You know, that train could be running more express than we are. 4.9 kilometres to go before our next stop. So we'll just throttle back because we know we've got the other train ahead of us. Also had a change of speed limit to contend with as well. So in this situation, you know you've got another train. You know you've got another train ahead of you. So the speed limit basically comes irrelevant because you're not aiming to get there anyway. Because you know that you've got another train ahead of you. It's defensive driving basically. And if you lose time in this situation, you lose time. You've got a train ahead of you. Now this would be one of the benefits of in-cab signalling. So you can be guided at all times by the signals in your cab. For instance, I've got half a kilometre to go before my next signal, and I know what it should be. I know what it should be, but you're not always 100% sure. So 1.5 kilometres to go before the next station, which I think is the penultimate station. I could be wrong. Okay, we've got a signal and stop ahead. That'd be at the end of the platform. Could be before the platform in some cases. Again, you want to make sure you get this one right. So there's no rush anyway, because you know there's a signal at stop at the end of the platform. You know, the last signal would tell you that. You have to treat it as if it's at stop. By the time you get there, it may not be, but alright, let's have a look outside. Whoops. So we know that the train ahead is ahead of us, and he realistically is probably coming into San Jose, and so the speed drops a lot around the terminal. Alright, so we'll lock the doors. Alright, last and final stop coming up. Signal has cleared. 3.9 kilometres to go before our final stop. Now it's highly likely that the train ahead of us has arrived or is about to arrive at the terminal. But we just drive according to the signal indications in front of us. Around the terminal stations, the speed limits often drop as well. So just driving a little defensively at the moment. So 1.8 kilometres to go. I think there's a carriage. Yeah, there's a carriage depot coming up on the right hand side there. So just coming in slowly, speed limit change coming up. 1 kilometre to go, the speed limit will reduce and probably reduce again. No need to go hard now. Depending on where we're going, we could also have to wait for another train to come off the station in our direction, so we need to be prepared for that as well. Alright, we're nearly there, just around the corner. Just a little bit of power to get in, not much. Not much point in applying much more power at this point. Signal it, stop at the end of the platform. Nice and slowly, and it's only a slow speed approach. It's one of our colleagues waiting to go back to San Francisco on the left. He was probably the one that overtook us a little bit further back. Very slow speed approach. Almost there. Make sure that we are idling. And a little bit of brake. And we're only 5 minutes late in the end. And we have arrived. There's both the baby bullets. Now, let's get out of the seat. Can we get out of the seat? Now, I shouldn't do this. Disclaimer time. Well, that's not really driving what I'm about to do. There's our train. Let's go back into the train. I can't walk onto the platform. Alright, here we are, back on the train. Sit back in the seat. I'll sit back in the seat. We'll close the doors. And that will bring us to the end of this episode. We'll see how we went. Hope you have enjoyed the ride from San Francisco to San Jose. I got a silver medal, an hour 31, 75 kilometres driven, 77 metres walked. And I am now level 20 for my profile. Level 6 for Peninsula Corridor and level 5 on this loco. Anywho, I've been Simulated Erky. You've been wonderful. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching and bye bye for now.